Welcome back as we continue our conversation with Jim Harris. We're back here with Jim, talking about your school days and living at home in Kentucky back there. Now there came a time period when, as a young man, getting into the high school ages, was high school different? Obviously, it was different than your one classroom experience there. What was like your teenage years like? What did you do? Obviously, you worked on the farm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you go to a proper high school in the area, or?
No, we rode a bus.
You rode a bus?
It was 9 miles to school.
Mm-hmm.
It was 26 miles home.
26 miles home? Wow. I guess you had a lot of kids to drop off at the after school?
A busload.
A busload. Wow. A 26-mile bus ride. You know what? And people complain today. I'll be darned. Mm-hmm. So, so schools, during your high school years, you worked on the farm, so you didn't have any side jobs. You never really did anything else. What encouraged you to suddenly look at the military as an option, as a job?
Quite interesting.
Okay.
The Second World War was going on. My
Mm-hmm.
uncles were in Germany and Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia and all over, and they was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I had one that was a warrant officer, and he slapped a second lieutenant. So,
oh boy!
As an example, but they wouldn't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had no radio, we had no television, so you didn't know anything about it except what you could hear.
Right.
And I couldn't figure out why my uncles was all in the war and didn't want to tell me anything about it. And I had questions.
Right.
And the question was more about Germany and why people hid in the basement and under the beds and in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to go through the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that they would tell me. We'd go through the house, we'd search out the people and make sure we got them all outside to do our thing with.
Right, right.
They wouldn't tell me what the thing was, but
Yeah.
that was the thing.
So they were rousting out Germans and German families?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Continue.
So I got quite interested in that, and I couldn't get any information.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I got interested, but I did. And so there was an airplane, the Lockheed Electra.
No, well,
They
okay.
built that, and it flew right over our farm. And I'd be out there, and I'd watch the airplane, and I'd watch the birds.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd watch them fly. The airplane wings didn't move. The birds flopped their wings.
Right.
So I went to my father and I said, why does the birds have to flop their wings and the airplane doesn't to fly?
Okay.
He said, son, I don't know. If you're interested, you'll have to go find out.
Right. There you go.
And that was a lot of a question. My father only went to the 7th grade. My mother went to the 7th grade. So I came home and I'm the smarty. And they would ask me the questions and I would teach the other kids.
Wow.
Math and everything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I watched those birds and I was excited. And one thing we raised was tobacco. The only money crop we had was tobacco.
Okay.
Well, if you work in tobacco, when you top it, suckers come out at the other plant. And you have to go take the suckers out.
Okay.
And that made me sick,
Mm-hmm.
the smell of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I told my mother, I said, I just can't do this. To worm and sucker out tobacco makes me sick.
Okay.
And I would get to the end of the row and I'd have to vomit.
Yeah.
So she said, well, son, if that is true, you need to look forward to another job.
Right.
That was the only money crop we had.
Yeah.
And that wasn't much.
Right.
So I got out of high school and I'm still interested in that airplane and bird. Now, I shoot birds, but I never shot an airplane.
Well, it's a good
One
thing.
of those electors, a wing fell off. That was the trouble with the elector, was the wings broke off.
Mm-hmm.
And when it broke off, it went down, and it dug a hole 30 feet down.
Okay.
That wasn't far from home, so I went over to see it. And I came back with that in my mind. So I decided I'm getting down to high school. I'm going down and join the service.
Okay.
The only thing I could get into was the Army or the Marine.
Okay.
I said, I don't want to learn to kill people. I want to learn about airplanes.
Planes, right. Okay.
Okay, I'll put you on the list, and when an opening comes up, I'll call you. And that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
So I did get with my mother and tell her I need to get out of that tobacco. It was just getting to me. So she said, okay. My cousin came up and said, I've got a job on a railroad building bridges painter. I can get you a job if you'll take it. So I went down and they interviewed me. He said, you think you can climb on a bridge? Well, the Ohio River is 1 mile wide.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
That's a long bridge, and it's a tall bridge. And I took that job, and they used me because I could climb like a squirrel, they'd say, and other animals.
Okay.
So they said, you'll fit in fine. So I went to work on that, and I worked on it until they called me for the Air Force.
Okay.
I went down, got my exam, got in, and had a problem because this ankle is a little larger than that ankle.
Okay.
And I asked my mother what it was, and she said when you was born, why the doctor injured your ankle. That's all it would say.
Yeah.
So I made it through with a little talking until it didn't bother me at all. I could run. I went to Air Base, great marble shooter, and he took me in.
Nice.
I got on a train and went to Texas that night.
Okay.
So I didn't have time to tell my mother, my father, or anything.
You were gone.
I'm gone.
You were gone.
So I'm down there and I go through. It was 110 degrees. It was over 100 for 10 consecutive days.
Was that Amarillo or San Antonio?
Lackland,
Yeah.
San Antonio.
Wow. This guy and me went through the same base. So I went through Lackland, and I remember those August days.
Yeah.
Oh boy, they were hot.
So he said if you get to where you're dizzy or anything and you're going to fall, why, step out and say, I'm sorry. And we go on.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do that for one time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got out, I had to take a test
Mm-hmm.
to be an aircraft mechanic.
Right. You hold that thought for a minute.
Yeah.
We got to go to a break for just a second, okay?
Okay.
We're going to come back and we'll talk about his becoming an aircraft mechanic in the United States Air Force. We'll be right back here with Jim. Thank you for joining us for this installment of AV Veterans Talk here at Aerotech News.